welcome to the talk today, Tech Talk, Northwest Tech Talks. The Northwest not particularly relevant because I think 99% of people on the meeting aren't from Chester or from the Northwest, and that's fine. It's just the name of our group. So we're going to talk today to Roman, Tsolkin?
Tsolkin is good. Yeah.
And it's PowerBI and ChatGPT, how they work together, how they don't work together, the experiences Roman's had, and he'll tell you more about that. So I think you're all here for that session. So I'll go through me quickly. I'm data quality. We do data platform, SQL, Power BI, all that kind of stuff for small, medium-sized businesses, and we're in collaboration with Code Nation, who are a training company. So look both of us up, you'll see more about us. Give you a note from our sponsors. So not sure, I can't remember if I put this on the meetup, but one lucky person who is attending today will get a £50 or it'd be 50 GBP equivalent in whatever country. Amazon voucher, and that's brought to us by Quest. So they are our sponsors. They, if you've never heard of Quest, you probably have if you've been working in data for a while. They do all sorts of solutions for the Microsoft data platform, whether that's the database side of it or whether it's data modeling, DevOps. As you can see on the screen, they actually do quite a lot of stuff. I had a chance to catch up with them at SQL Bits this year. Because I've been aware of Quest for many, many years, but kind of lost track. Their newer products are really cool, so definitely check them out. If you go to quest.com, Northwest Tech Talks, that just helps them to understand if I'm putting any traffic their way. You know, they're sponsoring this, so it's good to go via that link. But just go check them out, see if it's any good. Yeah, so I'll do that at the end. It'll be whoever is still connected. So if I call someone's name out, then and they've already gone. Sadly, we'll just do another draw till someone is there. So now over to the star of the show, which is Roman. Big yellow star there for you. And take it away. Yeah, you should be able to take over the presentation.
Let me share my screen. Thanks, James, for the nice introduction.
All right, just one final point actually before we start. This is being recorded, so if anyone has, if anyone doesn't quite catch something, you can play it back. It'll be put on YouTube in a week or two.
Great. So then let's start. So the topic today is the Power BI and ChatGPT, exploring success, failures, and lesson learned.
Roman, we've lost your mic.
Oh, can you hear?
Yeah, we're back now.
Okay, great. So my name is Roman. I'm a senior data analyst working at Avanade, based in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Avanade is the subsidiary from Microsoft. That's why mostly I've also touched some different topics. I used to work with Alteryx, a bit of Tableau, also RPA with UiPath, but currently mostly working with everything what is related to Power BI. And I like some topics such as data modeling. I love everything related to performance optimization, visualization, and of course, DAX. And I'm originally coming from Ukraine. And you could probably hear and recognize my accent, but I think it should be fine for you. I have also a couple of certifications, as Microsoft certifications and Alteryx and UiPath certification.
Roman, it seems like when you change slides, you mute.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll try to keep an eye on it.
No worries. I'll just tell you if you do.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I will try to cover the following topics as data preparation, then getting some insights from the data using ChatGPT, data modeling, how can you use it for doing some best practices of data modeling. Of course, some calculations in M, in Power Query, or in DAX, data visualization and design, and some personal experience, success stories, lesson learned, and so on. As you can see, like this image was generated with AI, and this how basically AI sees what the combination of ChatGPT and Power BI, how it can look if they work together. And first, before we start, look, the microphone is working, so it should be fine. Before we start, like as a short prompt, just to show as an example that it's very important to ask actually right questions. And by generating the right question, so it helps me personally a lot to find an answer actually, because when I start thinking, okay, what should I ask to even ChatGPT or whatever, like any Power BI community, or just typing something in Google, I find an answer even before submitting my question. But in this case, as you can see, like if I ask as a prompt, I ask ChatGPT as I'm a Power BI expert, I'm developing new tool, and to automate document Power BI datasets. And I asked ChatGPT help me to prepare the demo to sell this tool to experienced Power BI developer. In this case, I think it won't help me that much because, well, if I run this in the ChatGPT, already copy and pasted, but you'll get something like this. And in my case, it won't help me that much because I would expect that to get this demo already prepared for me. But in this case, because I ask help me, of course, ChatGPT would just give me some best recommendations how to do it the best, but basically won't do it instead of me. So in this case, it's very important, like in many other cases, to ask right questions, and then you would probably get the right answer. And like we can start, just go to ChatGPT directly and like try to play with it a bit and to see how it could be useful on the real examples. Let me just open the screen here and then put some prompts. So first of all, if I ask, like whenever I start to do something, right? So I want to start with some.
Roman, you're muted again.
Am I? See? Can you hear?
Yep.
Okay, let me just maybe put it somewhere here because I could see that my microphone was working. But basically, yes. So if I ask, so like Power BI to navigate me and do like some, how can I get some data, some sample data from the Power BI desktop, right? Of course, it gives me like some basic recommendation starting from the very beginning, which is quite good. But if I already have Power BI installed, what I noticed in this case, because I gave him the tip that I know that there is a sample data already in Power BI desktop, but it cannot find it. It doesn't say that if I open Power BI, that there is an option to get like sample data and work with it. Even if I can just type, there is already sample data set available in Power BI desktop. It's still like if I open just the start page, I kind of try to navigate, give me this try sample data set. I don't want to use any that I'm using like for some client purposes or something. I just want to use this one, but it still cannot find it. But it's not a big problem because I can just click load sample data, and then I could already get some data to try play with it. And yes, as you could see, like we could get some data out of it. Yeah, I already prepared this similar. Yeah, basically this is the same data set. And what I also find quite useful, what could be ChatGPT used for when you especially need to get the data from some SQL server, for example, and you have already some settings, but you just need to insert the code here, like the M code, and then you can ask ChatGPT, for example, like in this case, you can give the prompts like, hey, as a Power BI expert, can you generate me M code to extract the data? So in this case, I know the path for this file, for this Excel file, and then I know the name of the sheet, I know the name of the columns, and it generates this M code. And basically, if I copy this M code, I hope it should work if I duplicate this one, advanced editor, insert it here, and then, yeah, so you could see I could get this data even just not navigating directly to it. So in this case, in this example, that's quite simple. Of course, like ask why should I do it this way? But if there are so many cases when the data is coming from different data sources, not like on your system from XLS or like any kind of data type data source, it could be quite useful. So you give the name of the server and you say that, yeah, this and this and this. You use those settings and it gives you the path which you can already directly pass here, and then you can use it directly and get your data. So I personally find it quite useful. And as you can see, it works quite good in this case. And then let's see what else we can use. If I ask, okay, I have this data set with the following columns, which is this testing data set, which is quite basic, but I find it's very useful to ask for some analysis recommendations. So I ask, okay, can you recommend me some KPIs or like what I'm going to analyze? And of course, yeah, like here, sometimes it could be quite obvious, but it's very helpful, especially working with the client who don't know what they want to do actually with their data. They have some ideas with some KPIs, but you can ask, okay, I have this and this data, and then you can get some new insights. You can get some new ideas for the KPIs, which like were not even in the priority list in the beginning, but then you can do some more deeper analysis. And this quite nice, you have just some options and then you ask, and then it generates you some nice ideas. So for this, I think personally, it's very nice, like a use case. How can you use it directly? And yeah, like basically, yeah, we have the data sets. We have some ideas. What are we going to do with this data? And then we can start doing some transformations and get some insights from the data set. And yeah, like I prefer, of course, to do all the transformation as much as possible, to do it in the, we can close this, and to do it on the Power Query side. And then, of course, if there's something needed more like more extra calculations, then do it in DAX. But of course, the best rule is to move the calculations the deeper as possible. So we are doing it in Power Query. Of course, if it's possible to do it on the data source level, it's even better. And in this case, let's say we have those categories, right? And then just to see that let's check if ChatGPT is good and can generate some code for calculation in Power Query. So in this case, let's do some very basic example. I ask, okay, in Power Query, I want to merge the columns month number and have a new date column. So in this case, I think very important also what I noticed quite often, ChatGPT is confusing DAX and M language. So quite often, if you don't mention what you need, to just say like, hey, I need some calculation in Power BI. And then it gives you some random, it's mixing. It gives you sometimes, it says, okay, there is a DAX formula, but it gives you M code. Or you say, it gives you some DAX for Power Query calculations. So sometimes it's like quite often it's not recognizing those two things. And I think if you are a beginner in Power BI, it could be very confusing. So it's even not for very beginner, but it could be because the syntax is a bit different and then the way you calculate it is a bit different. But basically, you could see like it can give, there are two options, right? It gives for merging because kind of similar, a simple feature, which is already available in Power BI, in Power Query. And you can do it directly like using the merging functions. You can just select two columns and then you can do merge, which is quite good. Yeah, it's already there. But if it's not available, and then you can apply the merge and then you select the data format. It's gonna work like this. We can check it, of course, there. So if we have a few columns like a month's number, those two, and then we do merge. Those are the queries. So we can, yeah, let's do it the way directly with the code. So I can copy this code, and then I can, yeah, I can do this merge like it's mentioned there, and I think it's gonna work if you do like with a column. Yes, so you see, it works like with a basic function, but let's try to do it just at the code like as the second option. So in this case, we need to, I do add column, custom column, and I insert here this code, which was generated. 6. No errors, and we could see that it also could merge it directly with the code. So this is like a basic functionalities. I find it very useful that it gives you more options, and then you can use or directly like use the code which was generated for the custom formula, or use already integrated functions. And that's what I find a very big benefit comparing to like quick measures or like copilots on. So there are, like, as far as I know, there is no copilot function which is already integrated in Power BI for Power Query. So if you need to do some calculation in Power Query, you're basically on your own. But with ChatGPT, it gives you options with DAX, and it gives you some, can give you tips which are working quite good. You can see also with M, and you can do necessary transformations with the data and calculations in Power Query as well.
Yeah, I really like that, Roman. Is Power Query, some of the things you can do via clicking around in the graphical interface, it can be a lot better to just write raw code. But Power Query is a whole new language for M's, a whole new language to learn. So this is really interesting for, I know what I want to achieve, I'm just not sure what code I need to write to do it. So it feels like ChatGPT fills that gap in the middle of, well, this is how you could do something similar. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because of course, like it's a very basic example, with merging, you can do like some transposing, like everything. There are many functions available already which are prepared, and you don't need to care about it. But there are so many, like that quite often I need to do adjustments even with these functions which are already available, and especially adding columns, then working with data source, and I update quite often already here, in advanced editor, and I need to adjust something here. And that's where ChatGPT can help. Like, of course, not always, but at least you can give it a try, just copy this advanced edit code from here, and then like say, okay, I need to update this code and do like some troubleshooting, or I need to add some column, or I need to do some extra step. And in this case, I think this tool is quite powerful because it can basically read it. So not always, of course, perfect, not always will give you some like ideal results that you're expecting. But as you can see, it works, and it understands what it's doing, and then it gives the results. In this case, I think it's quite good. Another use case, like of course, like we could do some other transformations here, but as it's a basic data set, like as you could see, it's already prepared quite well, which is like lucky enough, and then it's like ideal world scenario. In most of the case, there is like 60-70% of work needs to be done preparing this data, but because it's a sample data set, it's already prepared quite well. We can move forward, and then the next use case, what I'm also using ChatGPT and PowerBI, it's data modeling. And how am I doing it? Actually, I say I go to ChatGPT, right, and I say that I have a fact table, like I name them. I have like several fact tables, or like one fact table and several dimensional tables. And then can you generate the data model for me? And in this format, I think it's a bit confusing, especially if you have like a lot of data. It's not that readable. So in this case, I think what is quite helpful, because ChatGPT cannot generate like a visual, because like a visual interpretation of the data model. What you can do, you can ask to generate a JSON file, and then you can, like, at least for me, I can read it a bit better, like in this format, that it's not just a plain text. You can see directly here, okay, I have those tables, which columns, which data could be used as the key, and what is actually available. You could see what is like a suggestion, what could be used as a primary key, what is just some description, the quantity of data, and then you can go and read through this data. And then, of course, based on this, you can prepare the data model already inside of Power BI desktop directly. I think for this, like giving you some nice approach, like some examples. And let me close this. I think it's here. Yeah, so you could do some data modeling here, like one-to-one and so on, one-to-many and so on. But basically, it's a very, like I find it personally, very helpful tool for data modeling, because quite often you don't know what is the best way to do it, and it can give you the best case scenarios, like how to, like based on your data, what you have, what would be the best data model for your particular case, because data model is very important. Like without right, if you just have one plain table, it's not the best solution, which will cause like some performance issues then for the calculations. So that's why it's quite nice to at least check, maybe not using it, like if you're like fine with the model which is already coming from the data source, if you're lucky enough that your data on the data source level, the data model is perfect, then it's good. But if you need to combine several like Excel files and so on, you mostly will need to deal with the data model. And at least it's a nice approach to check what the ChatGPT says about it and gives you some nice ideas, nice scenarios. So basically, after the data model is there, the next issue, I actually had it with one client and like with my project management team on the project, and they wanted to import the team. They had like a layout from PowerPoint, and they wanted to import it inside of Power BI. And yeah, like that's seems like an not that complicated task, but the problem was that I was getting some instructions how to do it from my project manager, so who had never had any experience with Power BI, but they were assuring me that yeah, it's gonna work like this. You just need to follow the steps, and it's going to work. And I see that it was generated like it seems like it's so obvious that it was generated in ChatGPT. And like basically, if you ask ChatGPT to how to import PowerPoint theme, and yeah, like you can do customization, you can define the style, but well, is it like, because it's generating always gives some new approaches, but often I was asking it by myself, it says it was giving me basically instructions how to import this theme. And it says that you can import this PowerPoint file, then open it in Notebook, and then save it as a JSON file, and then it's gonna work. But of course, it never worked. Or like there was an option to, it was given something like get data and then get like a sample, like get thema, get sample thema. But basically all those instructions which ChatGPT was generating, they will never work. And then needed some discussion within my project that not everything what ChatGPT generates needs to accept as a truth, that as it is needs to be checked. And this use case I find personally quite showing the results that it's not always working perfectly, especially if it's something related to the settings, because settings are constantly changing, especially in Power BI. There is like every month there is some update, and ChatGPT cannot catch it. So it's like, or it starts making up some settings which never exist, or like those, there could be new settings which ChatGPT is not aware of. That's why, like, quite often I have this issues with like clients or colleagues who, like, they send me some random code, or like they send me some random settings how to do like works with some visualization or apply some particular settings for particular visualizations, and it just doesn't exist there. So that's why this is definitely needs to be checked if you are doing some settings or like working with like design and so on, because this quite often ChatGPT gives a random results. So the solution in this case was, yes, of like for applying the theme from PowerPoint. Eventually, I think, yeah, that was the easiest way, just like manually, how it says basically here. So just to apply the colors and do like manual adjustment to the theme from PowerPoint. But there was no direct solution to import and apply the theme from the already existing layout. And yes, it was giving me like when I was mentioned to ChatGPT this, and it says, yeah, there is, apologize for confusion. So you can manually apply those colors and do this modification regarding the style and that. And yeah, like a part of the layout, I think also like the biggest topic why it's actually when it could be used, of course, it's like a calculation. And if we go to calculation section, if we check, of course, like that's the new one, what is introduced, this Copilot feature with the quick measures, right? If you have this suggestion with Copilot, which is already here. And that's what you would ask me, why should I use ChatGPT when it's something already here? What I find, yeah?
That's really cool. Is that in the June release? Was that in May release? Because I've not seen that, the Copilot. I knew it was coming. I've just not seen it live.
Oh yeah, it's, well, like usually it's actually like in May.
Oh,
it was like called somehow different. They just changed this like to the fabric layout and so on. But there was already like it was like in preview mode, but you could already use natural language and say here, hey, I need like a total, I think total sales.
so they've just rebranded it then. That was the
Oh yeah, because it was already here, but it says, yeah, like this is the first like preview feature from fabric and so. But that's like the whole thing about this fabric. That's of course another topic, but that's my personal opinion. That's quite often they just rebranded the things and they present it as like completely new, like, you know, something what has never been before, but eventually they just change the name, they rebranded. And that's what I find quite often, and that's a bit funny about Microsoft products, because they are doing it that for some reason. But this feature, you can see it's here, it works, and then we can say total sales, yeah, and it generates some DAX. So it works. And we can do like total sales, country, country name, I don't know, Germany. Yes, and then it generates this code. So it works. It works quite well. What I personally, why in this case, like of course, I assume that this is supposed to work a bit better than, like if there is some complicated calculations on the logic behind it. So that already integrated function. So with this Copilot, it should work better and give better results. But for now, we can do some testing with ChatGPT. It's doing quite good job as well. And this kind of, total sales, like doing some filtering and like generates quite good code as well. But what I personally prefer, why I prefer ChatGPT in this case, because you can do like continuous conversation. Because here you can see I can just generate one measure and then edit, and then I can generate another one. But I cannot like update, just give me, okay, I want total sales. Then I want total sales only for Germany. Then I want total sales of Germany for this kind of product. And in ChatGPT, I can do directly, like a conversational mode. So that helped me personally a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine it's easier to have a back and forth, isn't it? So that's cool. Just to let you know, the meeting chat is people are saying they've got stuff out of the meeting already. You've sparked ideas off. You've shown some cool stuff that they found really useful. So just to give you a summary of what's been said so far.
Okay, that's great. Good to hear. Well, so like just let's do like then some examples. That first, of course, like before generating some KPIs, I ask, can you give me like some ideas for KPIs? And then based on this data set, which is already, I mentioned like long time ago, it still remembers what I still have here. And it gives me some nice ideas, which kind of KPIs I can generate. And then we can do like some examples, like very basic, of course, that could be done with the quick measures or just like by itself. But it's basically, you can see that it generates the DAX, and then we can try to check if it's going to work. So, okay, so my table name, like usually it was remembering actually my table name, but now it doesn't. Let's try. Then if we create the card here, but you see, it's like it creates the values, so there are no errors. And if we are doing it like a bit more complicated ones, if we can do like, can you give me, for example, discount rates, and then it will generate, like if it's like some basic calculation, like discount rate, but it's like most of the cases of the scenario. That's what most of the clients are asking. That's most probably it's gonna be in the quick measure. If it's not, then you're gonna find it like on the Power BI community on. But me personally, first place where I'm going to look for it, it's not gonna be like a quick measure. Like of course before it was quick measure, but nowadays I just go and ask ChatGPT, and in this kind of calculation, especially with all this filtering, with the calculate function, with all this, sometimes we hear DAX syntax, it gives pretty good results. And then you can see directly. And then what is very good is that you can play with it, and then you can do some adjustments. But yeah, of course, it has some limitations. Like I think it's not that good with the date time functions, because it needs a bit of more like understanding the syntax. It's a bit more advanced level. So for basic calculations, it works good. For more advanced, needs to be checked, and need to work on it. And yes, so like that's like regarding the calculations, as we could see, it works quite good for the calculations for the DAX. And like also for the Power Query, we can also use it for the Power Query. data modeling. There are also like some nice tips to use it. You can get some nice insights from ChatGPT. And yeah, like another feature what I'm using it for, of course, getting some insights for the visualization. And in this case, we can use the prompt, something like, I want to create a bar graph, total of sales, and show me the steps to do it. Yeah, of course, it's gonna give me like some basic steps how to do it, step by step, but that's what I asked. But here, yeah, like we could see that it gives me the nice recommendations for the bar charts to create the particular KPIs. And you can also get like some ideas what is the best visualization to show total sales per country. And you can also get, like some ideas which kind of visualization to use, and like what could be the most visible for the user. Of course, it's like the design and then interface, usability, and so on. It's very personal, but you can get some nice ideas what to try, or like any custom visuals, for example. And then you can also get some ideas like if there are any custom visuals available for showing. But again, it's like again coming to more advanced level. For the basic level, like let's see if it's going to respond to the custom visualization. Was too much one. Let's see. Okay, let's do the just the visuals which it's already suggested. Okay, this is okay. That's like it's lost the track of the data which I had before, but let's bring it back. Say that which kind of data I already have. I have this data set. And
the live demo gods are always problems.
I think so. Well, let's say like usually, like before it was working. Let's see. Great with the data set. Tree map. Okay, like I think I guess in this case, look, I need to put that I want to have it in Power BI. I think this is the issue because it's not getting what I want from. Okay, let's see. Tree map in Power BI desktop. Yeah, I think this in this case it's gonna work. I thought it's gonna catch up that we are still talking about Power BI, but yeah. So basically, yeah, in this case, yeah, we could see that which kind of measures what we need to use to create the tree map. So we can use the tree map. So this is this one. And then, of course, yeah, we can use as the category is the country. We can use the gross sales, and then we can use, I don't know, like a product to detail. So you could see like was a nice suggestion which kind of visual to use. Like even like all the pie charts and the tree maps, that is not the best case, but in this case it was gives some nice results. And what also I'm using it for, like for the visualization, what I personally find quite useful, those like recommendation regarding the colors. If I ask like, if I have already some color, of course there are some sources like Adobe Color, this wheel palette, and so on. There is like a lot of advanced visualization tools, which help you to find the right colors for the user to make it accessible. But here I find it works quite good actually. You know, I can always say, hey, I have this base color, which could be like default client color for the theme and so on. And then I say, this is the base, and then give me 5 others for other categories to make it more accessible. And that's like quite nice, because here I could copy it directly. You know, if I have like, you know, we can try to have this one and then use it as a different colors. So this one, we use it as a base.
I'm loving this one, Roman. I've got a client at the moment who've got a palette of colors that they use. Well, sorry, no, they haven't. They've got a core color, which is their brand color.
Yeah.
The ability to give a base and have some colors that, because you try like, I want something that looks good with the base color. Otherwise, otherwise everything ends up being shades of the same. So this is really good.
Exactly.
Definitely using this one.
Yeah, like you can definitely use it. Like, well, you see this in this example, the color was not that good. It's like this pink. It's not nice base. But if it's like, we can try with something blue and so on. But you could see it's like creating, you know, something more uniform. Then of course you can play with it. But very good thing that it gives you the range, direct the codes, and then you can say you can choose the style what you prefer to use for your visualization. And then of course you can do like, you can play with it a lot. But for the visualization, for this kind of a best practice scenario, which kind of visuals to use, which color apply, I find it very useful, because like you don't need like, you know, that much going deep into Adobe, all these tools, like to learn, you know, best practices. You just ask and you get the direct result. In this case, I think it's very, very useful. And yeah, like coming back to the, like just the kind of to the presentation. Hope the sound will still stay. But yeah, as you can see, like there were some like examples where I could where you could use ChatGPT and Power BI, where it could be very helpful. In my opinion, the worst case when the client or project manager takes ChatGPT very serious. I think nowadays there is a bit more understanding, and ChatGPT improved a lot. But in the first months, I think was the most challenging for me with all these ChatGPT instructions. Is like from December until like March, something like this, because it was pretty fresh, and somehow there was so big hype on the topic. And quite often, like I was getting all the settings and I was confused that people expect something and they prepare some architecture, they like based on the promises from ChatGPT that it's possible to do something, and then they ask you to implement it. But basically, quite often it's not possible just because those settings do not exist. All of these functions are not working. You know, those calculations do not really make much sense, and it takes some time to explain why it's not working. But nowadays, I think 2 points that people already got a lot of experience, a bit more experience with that, with AI. And second point, it's improving a lot. Like even the results, what I'm getting nowadays from ChatGPT, it's much better than it was in the previous edition. And yes, like if you want to have like a look at some DAX calculation examples, I think you all know this guy. This Marco Russo is like a DAX expert, and he has like a 1-hour session writing DAX with ChatGPT, and he's challenged it with more complicated examples. The examples I showed you right now, they are more or less simple, and there was like nice results. In his case, he was very impressed the results he got. But quite often he explains why in some particular cases why it was wrong, the calculation is not going to work. But again, he was trying to play with this ChatGPT with more complicated functions, like using date in period, all these date time functions, and sometimes it was confused. But in some situations, it gave him some nice results that he was he was very impressed. So you have time, just have a look at check his video. Very impressive, and like with all his approach, with his comments, I learned personally a lot about DAX as well, especially watching just this video. Check it out. Another thing, what I tried to do, there are also videos how people integrate ChatGPT inside of Power BI. On those videos, it's possible. Like if you just type like integrate ChatGPT inside of Power BI, there are options like to do it. There is some Python script, and there is also like with API functionality, you can basically integrate it and then like you ask these questions directly about your data or like some functionalities, and you have this ChatGPT inside of your Power BI. For me personally, it didn't work. I tried different articles, different videos, tried to follow step by step, but all in all, it was always, I think, because I used the free version of ChatGPT, I was always getting that result that my current quota was exceed, but even I could use ChatGPT like aside from Power BI, but inside of Power BI, I was always getting some errors. And I think there are some limitations if you are using its free version or if you are using the paid version. And of course, I would not rely on that something, what is not inside related to Power BI to integrate something there and to sell it to the client. So I was doing it mostly like for myself or trying to, like for some visualization challenge or something like this, and to hope that it's going to work. But all in all, I think Power BI works quite good with something what's related to Power BI. As soon as you try to implement something what is not belong to that, you might get some issues on this particular case. And just to sum up, like I prepared like a small few slides that what is basically Power BI is not, I wouldn't recommend to use it in combination with ChatGPT. Of course, you can try, but you might not get the best results in this case. Making decision, I think that's quite obvious that OpenAI is not on the level now to get to make the decision for you. The decision is always on us, and then we need to decide. That can give you some options, which visual to use, which calculation, which kind of data, but you have to decide by yourself. So that's if you want someone to make decisions for you, so that's not the right tool. But to get some options, that's always a nice idea. The second thing, if it's a complex code, again, if you want to have a look at the video of Marco Russo, he explains with the examples if there is some more complicated, something I think more beyond than quick measures. If it's like a little, like updating some code which could be generated with quick measure, I think it still works. But if you want something more complicated with more complicated conditions, including this date time functionalities, I think it's like there could be the results might not be always perfect, but it's always possible to try. And I think it depends if you ask right question. You might get, or like you can get the tips to get the right answer. Then if it's like it's already mentioned, it quite confuses sometimes DAX and M. I think if you mention now DAX, and it was more like issue from the early versions. Now it works a bit better, but still like it confuses those two languages even because it belongs to the same infrastructure. That was my personal experience, that it's like sometimes it's always better to mention that I do need this transformation calculation Power Query and do like generate me M syntax, then it's better. Or like you want some DAX to like DAX and Power BI desktop, mention this one. The settings, again, if it's like if you need to adjust some settings, Power BI is constantly changing. And it's not only about Power BI, any kind of tool. I wouldn't rely on asking for some settings, ChatGPT, because it can give you some results, or just making up something but doesn't exist, or give something what is not up to date. Security and governance, that's also a very important topic because it can give you some guidance how to use role-level security and so on. But again, it cannot set up security and governance for you. So that's again coming to the making decision. And I think this AI is not on the level for now to do the proper security and governance. And Power BI as an example. And of course, performance optimization. That again comes to the decision because there is a lot of ways to optimize your data model, to optimize your DAX, and to like improve your performance optimizing visuals. But again, you need to test different options, and you can get some best ideas, best scenarios with ChatGPT, but you need to implement and use other tools like DAX Studio and so on to check the performance analyzer, to improve the performance of your report. So it cannot substitute you. You need to do it by yourself. And what is good at actually, it's of course getting the story from your data. So if you just start working with some data, you need to get some ideas, to get a bit of inspiration, what you want to get from it, get some calculations, cards like KPIs, discuss with the clients any kind of information extra, what you can provide, what is possible to do in Power BI. That's a perfect tool to use. Giving you basic guides on how to troubleshoot. If you already have some DAX, it can improve it. Or like if you want to start, you want to use it as a copilot of quick measure calculation, it works quite good. Data modeling, as you could see, like using the syntax, showing like a JSON format or any kind of other format, you can get nice inputs, which fields could be used as the key fields, what is the best practice for the data model, how to bring your data model more to the star format, like where to include data table, and so on. It has all the best practices. Basic calculations, yeah, that's like as a calculated columns or DAX. Design, as you could see, like adjusting colors, using the appropriate visuals, and which visuals would be better for each scenario, works perfect. And last but not least, what I personally find it very good, and it helps me a lot. At the moment, when I type, like before it was before ChatGPT story, I was often asking some questions Power BI community. And even while typing and thinking how to ask it the best and how to formulate that people understand me, I was already getting an answer. Somehow it just I was coming to the answer through creating the question. And now, but still, like even if I don't get an answer, I would still need to wait some time that maybe someone helps me to find a solution. And Power BI community. Yeah. But now
that's actually got a name. It's called the rubber duck debugging theory. So where you, if you can formulate your question and explain it to a rubber duck or some other inanimate object, a lot of the time you find your own answer because you've changed the question. Sorry, Roman, I need to. Are you just about done, or are you done?
That's it. Like I'm done. So that's it. So basically, like just to sum up, that I say that ChatGPT doesn't think. You have to think instead of it. And like the perfect example, how I understand ChatGPT is like a junior coder with an intuition of architect. So it has like great ideas, but you still need to find a way to get to the right answer. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, we still have 1 minute.
So what I wanted to do was just do the presentation of the. So thank you very much for that. It's very very interesting and thought provoking. I know I'm sat here with Chris, and two or three times we're like, "That's a really good idea. We need to do that." So thank you very much. It's a great session, and I know this is one of your first sessions presenting. Am I right in saying that? I think Brian said that. It went really well. So congratulations.
Thanks.
So if you want to get in contact with Roman, his contact details, his LinkedIn and his emails there on screen. I'm just going to share my window for a second, and we're going to generate a number between 1 and 53, and that number is 43. So if I go across to my other window, which is here, I'm going to type in the value 43, and it'll tell me the winner is Jithu Joy. Are you still on the call, Jithu? You can speak. I don't think you are. Okay, let's do another one. Number 12. Bar. Are you still? Yeah, Bar. I can see you're there. I'll get in contact and I'll give you your £50 Amazon voucher. Congratulations. Bar, if you can, I'll message you if you can send me your email address on Meetup. I will send you your Amazon voucher. Well done. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Roman, for giving that session. That was really good. I'm gonna play it back, and yeah, definitely taking some of those points on board. So really good job. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here.